I want to talk about stories. I was thinking about the story of King Arthur, and what I get from that, or what I like about stories in general, is the value of a story is in the values that it tries to impress upon its audience, right? At least that's one of the values of a story, right? And I was looking at the story of King Arthur, and within the story of King Arthur, you get the sense that one of the values, or what was valued at that time, one characteristic you could say that was valued at that time, was the value of bravery, of chivalry, of standing up and doing the right thing, the correct thing, and not letting things go without a fight, not letting things turn to evil. If you don't know the story of King Arthur, the gist of it is that there was a time when there were these witches that were causing problems within the realm of wherever King Arthur lived. And there were just issues just in general. Just people didn't get along. There was wars, there was fighting. And so it was prophesied that somebody would come along and unite the area, unite all the towns, unite all the little villages, and bring peace, bring balance. And there would be a time of peace and balance. And then also part of the prophecy was that that would eventually fall. There would eventually be a downfall, and for whatever various reasons, right? But what I found within that story is just how every knight that would come up who would want to be a part of the round court of King Arthur wanted to be a part of being noble in a sense, being chivalrous, being someone who's regarded as, hey, I did the right thing. I care for people who are not able to care for themselves. I take care of people who are in need. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I do. And I just find that really interesting because today, you know, a lot of the stories that people get today are stories that they get through television. And there's no noble sort of characteristics or, character traits that are like that. Like, what people get through the shows that they watch is loyalty to your friends. That could be something that I see in... I don't watch a lot of TV or shows or movies or any of that stuff, honestly. But from the little that I have seen, it seems like the thing that is... what people are being impulsed with in general is obviously consumerism. Get to the top of the consumer totem pole, make as much money as you can so that you can live above the problems that everyone else has. And there is definitely a strong sense of independence from others, individuality. Just do your own thing, care about yourself. No one else is going to care about you. And just maybe there's loyalty to friends. I see that in shows sometimes. But a lot of it is you have to look out for yourself. And really, there's also a strong sense of your emotions and feelings matter. And not only do they matter, they are the most valid thing. They define you, who you are. And if other people don't validate your emotions and feelings, they're wrong. They're to be disregarded. Everything will come back to show that see your emotions and feelings were the most important thing. And that's what a lot of the messaging that I see in the stories of today through, social media, through television, shows, which I know people don't watch it through cable per se, but like Netflix or Hulu or whatever, Prime. And I'm just looking at that because it almost seems as if the average young man being brought up today is supposed to feel like not connected with the rest of society. Like, you have problems, yes, but everybody else has problems. So just worry about your own problems, and you can't really worry about society. Society's crumbling. And that's being echoed within, if you look at, big tech, across the US, you got OpenAI, you got Tesla and X, and, you name Google, Microsoft, you name the, the company, Amazon. But all of their CEOs, leaders, whatever, Palantir, Peter Thiel, all these guys have this bent on this idea that there are bad times coming and it's going to stay bad. There's like almost like a, how did I hear it described the other day? Like an apocalyptic death cult, so to speak. There's transhumanism involved. There's all these things that are pointing to basically these people are preparing. They've got massive bunkers underground. They're bought hundreds or thousands of acres for their compounds out in Hawaii or farmland all across the US or whatever, right? And they're preparing for bad things to go down and for them to be insulated from that, to be completely protected from that in some way. And the idea is basically what's being sold is, hey, you can't help everybody else. They're all screwed. You're probably going to be screwed too, unless you can get a leg up, and you can do that by just forgetting about everybody else and investing into crypto, or who knows what like BS solutions are being promoted out there that are this like one size fits all, but it's only for you type of idea that clearly is not going to work. That's clearly not an actual solution. I saw this one guy on Soft White Underbelly who was talking about how he is an OnlyFans manager, and he's doing that so that he can make as much money as he possibly can to protect his family, buy a farm somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and just raise his kids there. And he knows that what he's doing is not morally correct. He doesn't really care because he thinks that something's going to happen. And I see that from people saying that all the time, like something big is going to happen. I feel it. But he's going to be protected because he's going to have money. He has a lot of money already, and he's just going to continue building that money so that whatever happens, that he's okay, he's protected. And I'm just saying that's not a solution. Should you care for yourself? 100%. But also, you can't just, it can't be everybody's idea. Oh, I only care for myself and forget everybody else. And you watch as other people suffer, which is a lot of what I see in the media, is you watch as other people suffer and you turn a blind eye. You become callous to it. That's what's being impulsed and impressed upon so many people, especially young men, is that you just become callous to the pain and the suffering of others. And I'm not trying to say that you have to go and feel, the pain and suffering and go and suffer with other people. But what I am saying is, clearly, if everybody's suffering, there is, like in King Arthur or in, you name various tales, there is some beast out there. There's some dragon that is causing this pain, and to just go, well, the dragon's going to take its sacrifice and there's nothing you can do about that. Somebody's got to step up at a certain point and say, let's go slay that dragon. Let's stop that from happening. And right now, to put it into really clear terms, the dragon is really, it's not even something that's out there that is like incomprehensible. It's the system that we as humanity have collectively created together. And we can slay that dragon. It's actually possible. Now, it may seem like a very monumental task, and I'm not denying that, but what a waste of time it would be to just say, who cares? That thing caused suffering for me. It's going to cause suffering for everybody. That's like an abuse of the word equality. That's an abuse of equality. It hurt me, so it's got to hurt you too. It's got to hurt everybody. Everybody should feel the pain, really. Like, that's kind of messed up, especially when you can do something about that, right? And so I have dedicated myself, committed myself, my own life, to doing something about that. Like, hey, let's change that. And seeing who I can get together with, calling on whoever else can see, hey, that's an issue that I don't want to cause problems in my own life, and I'm willing to change for myself. And if it benefits others, I'd be okay with that too. And in fact, I'm more on the side of like, hey, not just if it benefits others, I'm okay with that. Like, let's make sure it benefits everyone. But I can understand, if you're somebody who's like, well, let me get myself in order first, and then, once I'm there, I'll help other people. Cool. I'm down for that. I'm looking to connect. If you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I'm in that boat. I want things to be better for myself. I'd like that. And I'd be okay with things being better for other people. I'm not opposed to that. Then, hey, we're on the same team here. And I would like to connect with you because we actually have to move as a unit. We actually have to connect and speak to one another and communicate with everybody who's on this side so that we are all moving in the same direction as a unit. Because if we operate as individuals who've got their own ideas, it's like if you have a basketball team, famous example, Kobe and Shaq, right? Kobe and Shaq were famous because they just couldn't get along. Sometimes they couldn't get along. And they operated so well together. And it was very clear that they both had the talent. They both had super amazing talent, better than other duos out there. However, they were not as good as other duos out there because they couldn't cooperate. They had their own ideas of how they were going to, go out and execute. If you have a basketball team, a football team, any team where they're like, yeah, we know the goal is to make as many points as possible and not let the other team make the same amount of points as us. That's really clear. Everybody's acknowledging that. That's obvious. But if they all have their own ideas of how that gets done, you're not going to win. You're not winning. You're not operating as a team. You're not operating as a unit. You're not operating in a way that's effective. You're going to I've got my idea of how this is going to happen. And then the other person has their own idea of how this is going to happen. And then you're going to let all these holes go through. When we can operate and communicate on the same team and make it really clear, hey, here's a winning strategy right here. Here's the winning strategy. Here's what we need to make sure happens. Here's how we can work together. Here's how this is not diminishing anyone on our team. It's actually highlighting all the talents of everybody involved and making sure that other people can join in. I'm talking now about the actual purpose here of making sure that this dragon gets slayed so that it's not causing you suffering, it's not causing me suffering, and everybody else can actually benefit from this as well, right? And there's an actual way to do this. There's a really clear blueprint of how to do this. And we have that blueprint. And so we all need to get together and be on the same page and communicate with one another. And I'm telling you, if we talk, we communicate, you're going to see, oh, this actually does make sense. And so I'm asking, hey, if you're listening to this and that's you, and I'm talking to you, reach out, because there's so much that we can do. There's so much potential that we all have that we have not even tapped into. And we're just scratching the surface. And I'm excited to actually make that a reality. So I'm going to go now because my little daughter here is, she's waiting for me. All right. See you guys.